All right, the meeting of the Bristol Development Review Board will come to order. First item on the agenda is June 22nd, 2012. Is there any changes to the agenda? We've got 4 permits to deal with tonight. All right, so we'll move to the first one, which is permit number 21-403, Greg and Laura Butler, Devon Lane, parcel number 205025, preliminary and final review hearing for a 2-lot subdivision. We had the sketch plan previous meeting, and this is a minor subdivision. So, does everybody have an agenda? I've got multiple copies here. Sorry.
They're going to need hard copies. Thank you. Yeah, okay, too. I need one. So show them what you do. Thanks, Chris.
All right, so we had sketch plan on the Butler application on the May 25th hearing, and it's a minor subdivision, so we only need to have this one hearing. Kevin LaRose is here for the Butlers. Are Greg and Laura here? I see Greg's phone.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, Greg.
How you doing?
All right, Kevin, you want to walk us through the description of the subdivision?
Is there any particular map you want to share this morning?
I guess we'll start with the survey. Greg and Laura own about an 1/8 of an acre lot off of Devon Lane, and they are creating a lot off the west side of their property. And in order to do that, I think you guys mentioned at your last meeting with this, they do require a couple of easements for the existing septic system as well as the proposed septic system to serve the new house, which would be on lot number 1, the new lot. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard 2-lot subdivision. I assume you guys have the other map?
Yeah, that's what I'm
So let's,
Go ahead.
can you just detail the easements you're talking about? Because we'll need to put that in the written approval. So we've got on lot 1, and that's Greg and Laura's house, right? It's lot 1. Oh, no, that's
lot
lot 2. Okay, so on lot 1, which would be the new lot.
Yep, that's the easement for the existing septic system. So we've spotted that best we could and given about 20 feet around it.
Yeah.
So should they ever need
So
any service on it.
just to the west of Greg and Laura's house, we've got their existing septic system. We need an easement on lot 1 to protect that.
Correct.
That is this area here. Is it?
No. No, this one, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I mean,
And you gotta, if you can rotate 90, that'd be good.
it's from my mouse.
It's harder when you're up on the thing on your own display.
Yeah, so the one.
So there's one right underneath where it says lot 1, 0.28 acres.
Yeah, that one.
Right here.
Okay, so that's the easement to protect the Butler's septic system.
The existing septic, correct, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's 2 other easements. So the one to the south or down, that is the easement to benefit lot 1 for the proposed septic system for lot number 1, which is
So there's an easement on lot number 2 for the lot number 1 septic system.
correct. And which didn't get on this one because I missed it and I was going through things the other day, but I think this one was a good survey here. But you can see the water, if you look at where the 14-inch maple is out near the Devon Lane, just to the left of 14-inch maple, there's a little symbol there. That's the water shut off for Greg's house for the water line.
Yeah.
So there'll be a small easement there.
Because it's on lot 1?
Correct, just because we had to have that little hitch in the lot to get the acreage how we wanted it.
That's for the water shut off?
Correct, and the water line.
And so on lot And so then on lot 2, there's an easement to benefit lot 1.
Correct.
And that's for septic as well, right?
Correct.
All right, so that's 3 easements. Does that cover it for easements?
That covers it for you.
All right.
Kevin, I'm confused. The second, the easement on lot 2, it's called a isolation easement. Is that a backup or is that the principal?
It's actually both.
Okay.
It's a combined system. It's a combined system, yeah, primary and backup for the new home.
Okay, cool. Oh, it looks fine. Thanks for the clarification.
So one of the things we wanted on this permit, but maybe you didn't agree first, we wanted to have a depiction of the distance from Greg's house to the new lot line, so we have some document that confirms it meets setback. I mean, it looks like it by scaling, but
Sure.
can you scale it for us so we can put it in the record?
Absolutely. 16 feet.
Okay.
I'm not scaling it, I know it because I measured it, but I
Okay.
will add that to this.
Okay. So that's the distance from the existing house on lot 2 to the new western boundary line is 16 feet.
Correct.
Kevin, on the map up on the screen, you're talking in this area.
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, we're gonna keep moving along.
Well, I don't have anything else to motor along. I mean,
All right,
if you have
well, you
specific
got-
questions, it's not much to
well,
this one, but
Well, we've
I
got a,
do have one other question. On the plat and subdivision, you show a building envelope, with the appropriate setbacks for zoning. But they can't really build over that septic, right?
no, it's on the other plan. You have the other plan that actually shows the house site.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those little conflicting things between.
Yeah, I don't want to build an envelope for that. But I think, Mr. Chairman, we probably should clarify in our final resolution that the building envelope would be, restricted to that front area that's not over the top of the easement. Although I
Yeah.
suppose they could stick a
Well,
garage or something back there,
well, that's,
or do something.
Well,
as
not-
long as they stay off the easement.
right, we're not doing site plan tonight, though, right?
There's no need for site plan.
Yeah, right.
No site plan, it's just subdivision.
Yeah, so if are you thinking, Tom, that there's something confusing about this? There's no building envelope on it.
Well, there actually is,
Where-
that dotted line, this is that building envelope, showing it out from zoning. The other, smaller, subdivision. plan.
Yeah, I guess that dotted line shows the area and that depicts where the setbacks are, so that you can build anywhere within that.
Except you can't actually build where you're
Right.
within the setback, but
Yeah.
also in the easement.
Yeah, well,
I just so nobody's ever confused.
right,
Are you,
looking at,
The-
I don't know what I'm
do you
looking,
want on this dotted line showing where they plan to put the house?
I know, but we're talking about this,
No, that's what I'm talking about, right? And this one here has little dotted lines to show.
House site.
right,
Yeah,
so,
Yes, but they've shown where you could put it.
The only reason I suggested clarity on that is so that there would never be any confusion, somebody would accidentally build a house there or something because they saw this building.
So which of the two is recorded with the town in the end?
The survey.
Okay.
Maybe what they could do, Tom, I'll give you a suggestion, is I can eliminate the building envelope in and around that easement, and then maybe also truncate it up in the back where the existing septic is, and you may still have room to put a shed or
Yeah.
something up there.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I've seen people do things that they don't understand and then they build a house.
So they have to have permission to build a house.
well,
No, not really.
they get a permit, but they'll, whether or not they need
Okay.
site plan. That doesn't hurt to provide clarity.
No.
And Kevin, do you need to sign him in for this process?
Oh, yes, Ted. Kevin,
Well, now he's gonna have to tell the truth.
he is. Now, Stephen's testimony changes now. Greg, you too. You solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give before this development review board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God, or so affirm.
I do.
Thank you, Ted. A little late, but okay, not too late.
Now, then you have to ask if he's going to change.
Yeah, does any of your testimony change now?
No.
All right, good. I'm just looking at,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the regulations for what our regs say now about what must be on the site plan. Just to make sure we've got everything. I think we do. Yep, I think we do. And we wanted, in our minutes, we asked for the isolation distances between the wastewater systems, and you put that, you depicted those on whatever we're calling this particular map, right?
Site plan, yes.
Bring that up.
Yeah, but we're not doing site plan, right? They haven't applied for that yet, because we don't have a. Let's see, so. So we've got, so these dotted lines that go out actually bigger than the property, those are the isolation distances for the septic system. So we've got town water, so
Yeah.
we're okay, that's the issue, right?
Yeah, you're okay. As I understand it, the town of Bristol does not require one to connect to the water system. But in any case, I still have to go through the notification of the state. So those will be the impacted neighbors that they'll move past tonight. That will be the next step for us, is to go through the notification of the neighbors on the impacts.
But Greg, you're on town water, right? Greg?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Greg or Kevin?
No questions.
All right. Anybody?
I have a
Yep.
quick question. Could I ask the folks in the room there
Hi,
to
John.
speak up a bit?
Sure.
Given the remote, sometimes I'm losing a little bit of what folks are saying, so.
Okay. Did you miss something? We can repeat it more loudly.
No, I think I'm okay here, but just
All right.
going forward, thanks.
Where's our pickup mics? Did I cover it?
No, it's on my laptop.
Oh, okay. All right, and does anybody on the board have any questions for Laura, or for Greg, or Kevin LaRose? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, anything further? I'll move that we approve the subdivision permit with minor revisions to the plat that we noted earlier, and so let's make sure we get those. You're going to show the distance from the Butler house to the new lot line, which is 16 feet.
Correct.
And what's the other?
I'm gonna update the building envelope to exclude the easement, and I will exclude the location of the septic system,
Okay.
which is located in this area.
Okay, so that's the motion to approve the final plat with those additions to be made by Kevin LaRose.
Second.
Any debate one way or the other on this? Okay, then all those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
So 5 ayes here, John's an aye. Josh? Josh is an aye. Okay, so 7-0, Peggy. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, who's in the room with you, Kevin?
Okay, Brenda. That's a good point. I should have pointed it out. Carol, Tom, Ted, me, Chris, Chris Acker. Who's this fellow?
Wait,
All right. Wade Acker
What
and
was the
Kevin
last?
LaRose.
Okay,
Wade Acker, Wade and Chris, they'll be coming up on for one of the other items that we're working on tonight, number 3.
thank you.
Yep. All right, so that takes care of that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Kevin, are you gonna take care of the recording of the fund plot, the Mylar?
Yes, yeah, I'll,
I put it in the decision, but people don't know. Like people don't know what that means.
yep, I will. I'll get it to Chris once before I do, just to make sure we nail those things. And once I'm happy, I will read the Mylar and get it over here.
All right. All right, next item on the agenda is permit number 21-402 Clark Investment Properties located at Liberty Street, parcel number 22.50.13, requesting preliminary approval for a 4-lot subdivision. So this also came up for a sketch plan. I'm not sure when, back in April, I think, but it's also a 2-hearing process, right, Chris? Because we have 4 lots.
Yep, this is a major, so they'll have
Yeah.
preliminary and final.
So, Chris, I'm looking at, sometimes we have parcel numbers with decimals in them and sometimes not. Are those oversights or are there, I just read Greg and Laura's, and then this one has decimals, this one has decimals, this one
I
doesn't.
have the decimals for it's easier to read, so
Yeah.
that's, the official parcel number does not have decimals.
Okay. All right, so Kevin LaRose is here for Clark Investment Properties. Take us through.
All right, Clark Investment Properties.
You like this map, Kevin, or the other one?
No, that was good, I think, for now. It's a little easier to read.
Before we go any further.
Oh, that's right.
I'm recusing
Yeah,
myself.
Brenda is recusing herself because she's an adjoining landowner.
Thank you.
And you have to sign them in, Kevin?
You're still sworn.
You still sworn?
I haven't unsworn yet.
That's probably just formality. Is there anybody else here who's here who wants to register an appearance on this?
Don't think so.
Nope, I don't think so either.
I don't see-
Actually, you guys are adjoining landowners if you want input, if you want. No, I don't have. Okay.
Yeah, well, Brenda has to recuse because she's on the board.
Yeah, so they own adjacent properties as well.
Yeah, but they can participate.
Right, oh,
She's
I got you.
recusing from
Oh, I
voting.
thought you were asking for,
No.
my bad, I apologize.
If somebody wanted to appeal, they have to state, we have to put on the record that they're here.
Yeah, and they have to take a position. All right, so give us an overall summary of the proposal.
As you said, Kevin, it's a 4-lot subdivision. Martin and Kathleen Clark are creating 3 building lots off the north end of their property. Anybody that's not familiar with the area, this is the land that lies northerly of their fenced-in lumberyard around the hardware store, off the backside of the hardware store. Currently, there's nothing on that except for some trees and I think the shed has
The
been
community
removed.
gardens.
Well, it's been relocated to
Hewitt Road.
Hewitt Road.
Okay. But
And
that's where it was on. lot
That's
two.
correct, that's where it was, yeah. And they are going through the local process and then concurrently working with us to go through the state for water and wastewater permits. And it's like Brenda, before we started, they're also working with a consultant on a stormwater permit, as a stormwater permit is required due to the impervious area, total impervious area of the whole
Oh,
property
parking lot.
and the buildings.
Yeah.
And the new homes and
Yep.
the whole shoot match there, so. But otherwise, it's 3 single-family homes, each will be served by their own individual septic system. Each will be served by a new connection to the water system. We've received approval from Valerie Caples on the water. I've with Eric Coda to get at least the preliminary approval for the 3 curb cuts. We've not gone through the formal process for that one.
So lot 2 is going to be on Liberty Street.
Correct, and lot 3 and 4 would be off West Pleasant.
Both would be off West Pleasant.
Yeah, and the only item concern that Eric Coda had was there is a sign, don't hold me to it, but I want to say it's a crosswalk sign located near the proposed driveway access for lot number 2 on Liberty, and he asked us to move that. So that would have to be slightly relocated a little further to the south. So I think it was like 20 feet, but that was it.
Move the driveway or?
No, the sign, he asked the sign to just be placed a little further away. It's, I believe it's the crosswalk ahead sign for the crosswalk across Liberty Street.
So for the final plat review, you could show us where the new note on it, where that sign location, new sign location is going to be, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Since Eric raised it.
Yep. And I think it was pointed out earlier, but these are the building lots are all in the high density residential. Martin's Hardware, the property in its entirety, lot 1, is kind of split between the high density residential and the Rock, the residential office commercial. And and I know I'll just hit it because I know Brenda brought it up, but she was asking about coverage in that. So that the coverage counts are different. The coverage for the town was based upon the buildings, and as mentioned, they are obligated to get a state stormwater permit. They do have combined more than 1 acre impervious area over their entire 2.65 acre parcel, and Fitzgerald Environmental out of Colchester is working with us on that piece.
So you said 2.6 acres, I thought.
2.65 is the total parcel, the whole thing. Yeah, so the stormwater permit for the state,
Before subdivision.
correct.
Got it.
Yeah, it's everything. Everything gets pulled in underneath that once they go through subdivision. Probably when this happened, if the rules were the same, he would have had to got a permit then, but obviously that predated stormwater permit.
Yep. Okay, so part of it, Chris, do you have an idea where the boundary line of the ROC is? Does it just take the front of the property,
No,
or is it
It's right across the back of
it's right across the back? Okay, so all of the hardware stores in the ROC.
No, it's not.
there.
I mean, I live right there, so I know it's not. I know it only goes very much on the front. It goes about, I think it covers Chris Acker's property. And then it just goes straight along. It was just a line drawn.
Yeah, I know the
But
district zones are pretty imprecise.
Its boundary is approximately where the boundary is between Chris's lot and my lot.
And I just pointed out what Chris
In front of the warehouse.
It's in front of the store, actually, pretty much, or maybe covers a little bit.
Oh,
So this man.
Aren't these helpful?
They're awful.
All right, I can see Martin's right there.
Where's Martin's?
It's yellow.
So here's the recreation field.
Yeah,
Here's Martin's Hardware.
yeah,
So this is
yeah, kind of.
Acker's. This is yours, Brenda, right here. So it comes off from about your driveway and heads.
A little bit northeasterly.
so if we're assuming that's as precise as we all think it is, that hits the northerly boundary of Ramona and Halleck Trust, so
Yeah.
give or take for some arbitrary reason, it's 170-ish feet deep.
Okay, so this is Chris's spot.
Yep.
And
And
so
here,
it just goes here. This is about, and this is the other property, but where it goes is
Yeah,
not, it's about, only about halfway,
Yeah,
yeah, about where my driveway.
about from your driveway to the corner pin of Ramona Halleck's.
Yeah, so
Whole
that's,
property.
that Halleck pin there is a good reference point, so.
But where all these,
Are all in HDR. The new lots will all be HDR.
no, I know that.
So most of the hardware store proper is in the ROC, but not all of it.
But the question is where? I
Well,
don't
just
think
looking at
so.
this, you can see it. From this corner across.
It's clear that it intersects the property, but
Yeah.
if it exists, we're not changing it.
No,
It's
it,
not conforming, but that's fine.
no, so what does it mean for your calculations, Kevin? Because that's what, it's different lot coverage ratios.
Yeah, well, it's higher, in,
Okay, let's see, the back part of the star is about here.
No,
Yes, it is, because this is one lot, that's the Ferris's, was Ches, probably still is Ches's, I'm not sure. This is where the whistles live.
no, we're,
It's two lots down from there, Brenda. Two of the blue lots down.
Yeah, this one and this one.
no, keep going.
No. This is where I live. That's the Davenants. That's the, well, was the Whistles. Somebody else has bought it. This is where the was Chesley's.
Right, and so you look on the eastern boundary of,
And this is about as far back as the back part of the store goes.
well,
In other words, it's about half and half in both.
well, when I was saying the store, I was talking about the retail part, not the warehouse.
No, what do you mean not the warehouse?
When I was saying the retail store proper is mostly in the ROC, I'm working off that corner of the Halleck property, which cuts across part of the hardware store. This is the warehouse in the back. That's all north of the corner with the Halleck property. So that's in HDR. But so just explain what the coverage ratios are for us there, Kevin.
it's 60% in the rock,
In the ROC.
yeah, and 50 in the HDR.
And so how do we do, how are we,
That's what I was saying.
how are we doing?
This actually helps us. Because,
So it complies with both.
yes,
Can you give me what the lot coverage is in the ROC portion, or is that really not possible?
well, it's possible, but I don't have it with me,
Okay.
but I can certainly get it for you for the next hearing, for sure.
As long as you can, so it doesn't necessarily need to show up on the plan, but you need,
Yep.
if you can substantiate that for us, so we don't just have the conclusory statement that it complies.
No, yes, of course, I can take care of that.
And I, as I said, I
Did
would
you
like
put
to
him on the
know
road
how
for
he-
this one too?
I said he's continued.
Right.
Good for the night.
Yep.
And also,
I would believe you.
and also just as a matter of, I can't figure out how one would do it. I would like to know how you calculate.
Oh, so what I'm gonna do?
No, I mean, just.
Oh, okay. Because I'm gonna use that, so it's ish. So, I mean, that's the best we got, so, which is far from stellar, so. But,
And-
What I get is, so approximately from here to here,
Mhm.
that's, ROC. And
correct,
from here,
North.
that, and this,
HDR.
and this is all,
correct, that's the lumber.
but it's all covered.
No, so lot,
This is the open part here.
so lot coverage by definition, is percentages of lot area covered by the building area. So when you're calculating lot coverage, it is only the physical building.
That's right, but the physical building goes way back. The, and also the, lumber, the open lumber area there is not impervious. It's gravel.
That's impervious, for the
That's
state,
impervious.
Oh, it is?
for the state, yeah.
Okay, then it's been covered by an impervious surface, the same as what we have here.
Not for what we're talking about
Not for
for
lot
building
coverage.
coverage. Yeah, there's the two different coverage
There's
things.
two different things in there, and we don't worry about stormwater.
Two different covers. You don't worry about stormwater, but it floods my land. So.
We're not gonna make a determination about stormwater.
But like I said, they will be addressing all that with his stormwater permits. They do have to address, they cannot have any of that stormwater running off this thing.
All right, so,
And you can explain that to me next time.
I'll try my best. I don't
And then you
do
can
stormwater work, but I'll do my best.
And then you will explain to me about lot coverage.
I will.
And that, because one never knows when these things come in handy. On something else. On
okay, so
something-
we've got on-site septic, single-family septics for, single septics for each of the new lots.
Before you go off, Chris, I just wanted to point out that you guys asked last time for the arborvitae's for the break between the screens, so they're there. So they were not there last time.
Yeah,
They are there.
so, and what do we got? Well, we got 8 footers.
8 foot, well, I just put 8 foot on center, we can make it.
Yeah,
And
so what size plants, have we figured that out yet?
No, I didn't see anything that specified what it needed to be, so.
Yeah,
that's
all right,
the first
so-
suggestion.
Actually, if there is something.
Is it? Okay.
What sort of plant? It also says it needs to be 25 feet.
What are you looking for, Linda?
The
Specs on the trees.
Landscape.
Landscape.
it's section 750.
Oh, performance standard.
Yeah. For any non-residential use in the district that affects any residential use in a district of land at least 25 feet in width shall be maintained. As a,
Well, strip of
then
land.
it goes under 3, landscaping required by these regulations shall consist of a minimum of tells you how many trees, how many shrubs.
Landscape
You never do it. but
in the front
better
side
than-
or rear yard. So that'd be rear yard.
So it really wants a 25-foot buffer area?
Essentially.
No, yeah, a landscape, as a landscape area.
Is there 25 feet proposed from the back lumber storage area
No,
to the left?
no, but I can put those north of the line and we can just have to be, if they can't be cut, or I can move the line too.
I mean, I don't have a problem the way it is, but it seems to me that the way that reads is supposed to be a 25-foot planted area.
Well, there are at least green space.
Yeah.
Could be
Yeah.
lawn.
Right, it could be.
But yeah, that's definitely all along.
You
You're
know,
only gonna have the house right here.
You know, that would be taken away from the spaces currently on lot 2.
It would be taking, it would make it hard to, in order to have the 25 feet, the lumber area would have to get smaller, or the lot line would have to.
Yes.
I think you need the lot line. So
Yes.
Well, so you'd have to work off the boundary of the outdoor storage and then
Yeah,
see what you need, but, it's,
Or ask for variance, I guess.
well, we can't do a variance. I don't know if that might be something we could waive. I haven't committed to memory our waiver authority, but, well, you can talk to Martin about it.
Yep.
And if we need to shift a little bit, Chris will take a look at the waiver. If it's just a buffer space.
Correct.
So I don't know if you have from the edge of the existing outdoor storage to the proposed new lot line, you have a sense of what,
It's 15 feet.
it's 15, okay, so would it be 10 more feet? So if either, you could still make lot 2 a little smaller and still comply with the 10,000 square foot minimum.
You also might be able to move that fence, because this one, it's a chain link fence in section.
Well,
No, just
if they wanted to have less outdoor storage.
But I'm thinking that is an important buffer to have, because they are often working out in there. I mean, it doesn't just sit there, people go and get stuff out of it during the working day.
Yeah, so you've got flexibility there in order to comply.
Yeah, I'll just have to figure the frontage out. But I'll see what I can do to make all that happen.
Okay.
And you might, if you have, I mean, it's, other than it goes against my better judgment for your frontage, if you had to, you could actually, because you've got this space here to play with your 25 foot.
Yeah.
You could come to here and then jockey the line here, so you keep your frontage. It doesn't create the nice square lots that I like.
Well, I can also move the south lines of lots 3 and 4 up, you know, if I needed to
Here.
pick up a little bit of that, so, yep.
Well, and we think.
Well, let me see what I can do
Yeah, I
first.
think you can, yeah, no, you've got sufficient space to pick up that extra 10-foot strip.
That'd be the better way.
Yep.
Got it.
All right, so
You were headed for septic?
we did, well, I was just summarizing, we've got
Oh, yeah.
on-site septic, and do you have something to show us for that?
I did.
Which one, what map are we on here?
Site plan, I don't know how you guys have it labeled.
Hang on,
F,
thank you.
we're on map F.
Map F, Peggy,
Thanks.
there we go.
Does that give you enough?
Yeah, I think so. Is that,
These are the 3 sites and.
okay,
So, yeah, each of the 3 homes has just a typical in-ground septic system with primary and replacement interfingered trenches. Each home and wastewater system will be set for 4 bedrooms. And as you can see, the water service lines are coming off, 2 from West Pleasant to lots 3 and 4, and then the 1 off Liberty to feed lot 2. And those are between the house and the street on each of those 3 lots.
mhm,
Each of the septic systems has to meet the state requirement of 25-foot setback to the property line or get an easement, as you saw in the last application.
Yep.
And then the designated replacement area septic system for the existing hardware store is right there. Yeah,
that's a replacement,
that's a replacement.
so we don't need any easements on lot 2 for.
Correct. It meets
For
all
lot
the setbacks.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And so if between lots 2, 3, and 4, we don't need any easements on any adjoining lot.
that's correct. Everything meets the minimum setbacks for that.
Okay.
And I guess it's worth pointing out, the existing septic system for the hardware store itself is just east of the building in that little island of grass, if you will, out on the side there where people often park.
They really don't need much.
No, they don't. It's just really employees.
Number of employees, right? Yeah. Okay. And,
But we did set that for 20 employees. That was based on a combination of full-time and part-time staff. So the state does not differentiate between a part-time person and a full-time person on the floats.
and electricity will just come in off poles on Liberty Street in West Pleasant.
Correct. You can see the poles are located on the map. If, for instance, on lot, that lot right there, which is 3, sorry. That pole is just left or
Oh, I
west
see
of
that.
the septic system.
Yep.
And then there's also one, just north. So,
Okay. All right, we don't have any common land.
no,
And as far as the data layer overlays from A&R, none of them are triggered here, right? We don't have streams, we're out of the floodplain. No wetlands, no deer yards on West Main Street.
crazy. Might be bear yards now.
Well, maybe, yeah. Unless maybe Brenda's got a deer yard in her backyard.
She's feeding the bear.
All right, so we're all okay on that, and I think that covers all the criteria we're supposed to talk about. You're getting the stormwater permit,
That's correct.
and so the plan is for these to be single-family homes, no association.
Yeah.
It wouldn't need to be an association.
No, everybody can take care of themselves. So.
Yep, okay. Does anybody have any, on the board, have any further questions or comments for Kevin?
No, sir.
No.
I only see John Moyers. Where's our,
I'm trying to get stopped.
I forgot who's up there. Is it Justin? Josh, any comments or questions?
I just wanted a little bit more clarification on the planted green space that's being required on the north side of the property for Martins to remain. And how come that a lay down area for construction materials does not qualify for that, since that's by definition a temporary condition?
You lost
Or
me
is
on
it-
the last part. Let's do with the landscaping first. You have, we don't have any specifics. You just have you just have an area, right?
Yeah, I don't know why this isn't considered similar to a driveway with a fence on the, approaching the lot line.
You're suggesting that the lumber storage area be counted as green space? You're asking about the definition?
Yeah, because it's landscaped. I mean, it's not overgrown, it's
No, it's
kept.
actually piles of lumber.
So it's permanent, we're considering it permanent storage.
I don't know if it's
Function.
permanent storage, but it is piles of lumber.
Yeah, it's definitely not, there's, inside the chain link fence is all storage.
It's been there for the last 20 years, so
Yeah.
it's semi-permanent anyway.
Yeah, so the.
Okay,
At least, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, on the plat that you've shown, the chain link fence, the existing fence has not moved. You're keeping it in the
Yeah, I'm not
same
proposing to move it yet.
location. So the, Josh, the depiction of where the landscaping would go, just to the south of that, there's a line which is the existing chain link fence. But we don't have 25 feet of green space there, as measured to the new lot line, the south line of lot 2. So we're gonna. they've
From the
gotta pick up-
fence.
They've got to pick up some more space there. by
Under-
shifting
un-
that.
understood. It's clarified for me now. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what I need to hear. Thanks.
And then you had a part 2 though that I didn't.
Nope.
understand.
No, I was questioning the definition of storage and the laydown area, but the
Oh,
20-year function of storage, I think clarified that.
Okay. And so let's see, and so, so are we doing site plan 2 there, Chris? No, I can't find what was that landscape section, 760. All right, we need a 25-foot green space buffer and outdoor storage of trash. What do they do now, Kevin? Is there dumpsters out there? Are they?
They have dartlets, but they have dumpsters there right here, adjacent to the
Chain link,
chain link fence and the lumber, the back of the lumber shed. He's got, I think, just 2 back there.
and so they're screened from the street.
There's a bunch of bushes around them. I don't know if you call it screen, but
Yeah.
There's no screening. When they paid all of that, I was told that there was no need for any sort of permit or screening because it was a driveway.
Okay, well, so you're gonna have to come up with a way to screen
But
the,
they moved those in and out, so I think.
well, whatever they've been doing doesn't matter going forward. They're
No,
gonna screen them.
I'm just saying that they may not always be left out. That would be a good thing to check.
Well, you're gonna have to have a storage area that's screened. It can be screened it couldn't be screened with deciduous, I don't think, but.
yeah.
I don't know.
oh, you can just include it right here and wrap it right around.
Yeah, something like that.
It's
I don't
nice
know.
and easy.
Well, take a look at subsection 3. Tell me, wait, I'm having Kevin LaRose look at 760 subsection 3, which requires a tree at least 10 feet in height for each 300 square feet of required landscape area. So you'll have to do the calculation on when you come up with that strip, and maybe they might need to pop a tree in, I don't know.
And would existing trees on the property count towards that, which I believe there's a couple trees on the.
There's a bunch. I didn't show, I think one of the versions I gave you, I showed it, but I thought it muddled up my.
It did.
So I didn't want it on there. Sorry.
So if so if there very well may be, but I wanted to draw your.
Yeah, there's a
attention
bunch of
to-
beautiful maples out there. Actually,
And they're gonna stay.
we located them all to, I think, all but like 1 or 2 are staying. The
Okay,
idea was we
great.
could try to work around it.
All right, so,
But I will look at that,
yeah, so that,
it was per 300 square feet.
so of this strip, so we need to, 25 by however long that property line.
188.42.
Yeah, so looks like you probably have two.
Yep.
Well, or maybe you've got some there already. If there's already trees in that strip that's near the front, I don't know.
Okay.
So there's no particular detail on the landscape screening along the chain link. So I think does anybody have any thoughts about what we should require for that? You know, we got evergreens and 8-footers or something like that, and that way they're yeah, we should get spacing
What they're thinking, so that's
Yeah.
25 by 188, we're on the same page,
yeah.
so that's over 16,000 square feet, so rough, that's 15 and a half trees, so 16 trees will have to place it there.
And you've got what, 25?
Well, you're gonna have cedars. So
Yeah,
the cedars we can Brenda,
I'm not.
I know, but you're distracting.
there's 24 right there right now, 23. But obviously we gotta,
When you say cedars, you should be arborvitae.
and I can change the cedars.
It said, yeah, wait, so it says at least one tree shall be planted no nearer than 5 feet to any lot line for each 300 square feet of required landscape area, and shall be located, you know, it doesn't actually say it needs to be in the landscaped area.
Well, and it's kind of almost excludes part of it because it says it can't be
Yeah,
at least 10 feet
yeah,
It does say one shrub shall be planted.
or at least 5 feet
Two
from the
hundred
line.
square feet, yeah, not really.
yeah, so, so I don't know that the trees need to be actually in the landscape, in the green space, but at least on site. And I think the arborvitae are not trees, but they're shrubs, but you're gonna have enough of them. So 6 feet high, that sound good, folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
6 or 8, 6 to 8 footers and space so that they fill in.
I'll do a mix of both. What do you want? Just the cedars?
Well, I think you need to do that for the buffer anyway,
Yeah.
for the visual buffer, because you've got commercial then residential. And so regardless of the landscape requirement
Yeah.
here, we need a line of evergreen there that's gonna provide the sufficient screening, but then you still gotta,
The tree requirement.
but the
Yep.
the arborvitaes themselves will satisfy 760.3 with respect to shrubs.
Yep.
But you need a few trees on site.
Well, once I take that 25-foot strip, I can spread those things out a little bit and dot it with some trees.
And there's
Make it
already,
look
like I said, there's already a bunch of trees in that 25-foot buffer. not
Yeah,
just-
so yeah, I'll
And I
have
don't
those.
think that trees need to necessarily be in the buffer. On site. Shall be planted no nearer than 5 feet to any lot line. Or, so we have this. So the tree plant can be any place.
I think the greenery requirement is separate from the buffer.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Got it? I can do that. I'll just get with you and we'll work out some details on it.
Yep.
Perfect.
John or Justin, anything else to, I'm sorry, Josh, to give direction, for Kevin for the final plat review? You guys back there?
Good.
All set? Okay, so we don't have to take any votes. If there's no further question, any comments from the public about the proposed plan? This is the preliminary subdivision review. So they'll, taking this feedback from us, they'll be back with a final submission. There'll be a second hearing with these additions. Any other questions or comments from anyone before we move on to the next item? Okay, that takes care of number 2. Chris, you're up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna bring up water and get more.
Yeah.
What are you planning?
No, I think you did.
I give you one of each. I think I did.
Clark. Where's that?
If not,
Kevin, did we receive these drawings on number 3 yet?
I emailed them out at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Unfortunately, I sent you a link to them at 3:30 this afternoon. I'll pull those up.
All right. Brenda's back.
I'm sorry about the noise.
So,
Forgot I wasn't on mute.
all right, so, Chris is here, and your son Wade gonna be fine?
Yes.
All right, so Chris and Wade, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence I shall give before this, well, don't repeat. I'll just say, and you can say I do. You swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give before this development review board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes? I do. All right. Come on, Wade. All right, Chris, we had a sketch plan a while ago back in May, and now you've got, this is preliminary because this is a 2 hearing subdivision because there's a commercial use on one of the lots. So this is the preliminary subdivision review, same process that we just had with Martin, the opportunity to get more detail from Chris, what his plans are, and to these things that we think ought to be included. This is where we tell them what to have added for round 2. So take us through the proposal, Chris.
So it's a 3-lot subdivision, with 1 lot that we would like to do a commercial use on now. And on that lot, we've showed the driveways, where the building would be, some trees in the front, where a sign would be. We showed the curb cut, which we have not gone to the,
So you're on the south side of Hewitt Road, right?
no.
You're in, where am I? Okay, oh, you're on the north side, yeah. Let's just see over here. Okay, north side of Hewitt Road. Okay, yep.
We have the septic area shown, drilled well shown, they're the proposed
And which one is gonna be commercial? Number 1?
lot number 1.
All right, and so the other,
The only lot number 1 this time.
so 2 and 3 are proposed to be residential.
They're just proposed as lots. I don't
Okay.
know, there's no planned use for these other lots at this time.
Okay,
So we did, and I hope, do we need to show a septic for them now?
well,
We have no idea whatever happened there yet, so.
yeah, well, you have to have, well, if there's something on the lot, they're gonna have to have septic, and it's gonna have to be on-site septic down there.
With
If
my
it's an undeveloped lot, I clarified this with Kevin a while ago on another one. If
Yep.
it's an undeveloped lot, it doesn't require a septic plan for the state. They'll have to get a state septic permit for this subdivision regardless. And as long as they state requirements, I don't believe we call anything more out for septic in our regulations.
Well, I think we do.
We have dug test holes on these other
Look
lots,
at page 86.
just to make sure that there was adequate soils for future septic.
Yeah.
And the soils were very good.
Mm-hmm.
But not having any plans
Number 4,
of what we're gonna do.
D4.
Yeah, that's the only part the very last piece of that was asked.
If we get a septic design for these, I would have no idea how big or what they would need to serve. If we did it now.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Well, there'll just be a condition then, that you'll have to do it prior to development
okay.
of those. But so you've got it for your proposed lot 1 though.
Yes, we have the septic area shown. We
Okay,
have not done the design yet.
yep.
when we don't, so we haven't proposed anything to the city.
Yeah, because you were gonna use it as you were thinking as a place to work on your equipment and such, right? So you're not gonna need a heck of a lot of septic under that situation.
150 gallons a day is what we're proposing for the size of the septic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a blow up of this map in your packet. It tightens in on just his small development area.
Something other than this?
There should have been a single printout.
And there's D and there's D1.
Yes. So that's just a blow up of where we're talking about the actual development now, lot one. This is what you're asking about. Sorry about that.
So Chris, the parking runs into the driveway, it goes around the back of the office and shop and then the other side as well?
Correct, that's what I would like to do.
Okay. It's actually not marked, but I mean, I can tell that it's fairly far from the lot lines, but do we know how far the parking lot is from your adjoining neighbors?
From the adjoining neighbors, I guess this would be the closest neighbor other than my proposed lot here. And the scale is 1 inch equals 100, so it's like 25 feet roughly.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Should we have that added to your,
I think so.
would you like that added to your next plan?
So you want the distance from the property line to the
Yeah,
driveway?
okay. The parking lot, pretty soon.
So do you know if you're gonna need stormwater? You've got a big lot there, and there's nothing there now, right? It's all open land, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
So
you're gonna be under the 1 acre, well, depending on how big your parking area is.
right now, the way Steve Ravel has it, it doesn't look like it's going to need stormwater.
Okay,
It would be under the,
the 1 acre, yeah. That'd be smart.
yes.
You proposed maple trees, of course, but 4 of them, I think.
Yeah, I think those maple trees might even be there already.
Oh,
There's some nice maples along the road there. I do leave some big ones that are there.
Right.
I agree with that. Don't cut them down and then replant them.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is so small for me, it's hard to read.
Is that better?
Where's the curb cut? You're gonna have 2?
We'd like to have 2, if possible.
And,
One here and
Yeah.
one here.
and have you talked to Eric about that?
No,
Okay, so,
that's something I should do
yeah,
soon.
yeah, because we were at, there's pretty good sight lines there, but I don't know where the other ones are on the other properties, and sometimes,
Well, I mean, Green Mountain Power has one in this area.
yeah, but more on what, there's, this one's gonna need one. And lot 3 is gonna need one, and what's your distance across the front of these one?
4, 10.
Well, you've got quite a bit, so you
Yeah.
might, but if you wanna have 2 there, you should, before you come back, you should get that squared away with, that it's okay. We don't wanna approve a plat
Yeah.
that shows 2 and then have the guy who actually makes the decision say, no, you can't have 2 for some reason that we don't see.
Okay.
Appears to have about 320 feet.
Yeah, I would think
It's pretty good.
it's a straight shot of a road, so sight lines are gonna be, what is it, is it 35 miles an hour?
Oh,
Yeah.
35.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and if Eric did have a problem, maybe I could incorporate it with one of these other ones, so we connect. it.
yeah, well, just touch base, and if he's fine with it, then you can continue to show the 2 on your final plat, but if it needs to be adjusted, that's what we're here for, to figure these things out.
Yeah,
Kevin,
Yes,
John here. So this hearing right now is just for the subdivision. This is not a conditional use hearing, is that correct?
that's correct, that's correct, nor is it site plan.
so what I'm trying to do is I only need the subdivision if I can do the building.
Remind us what zone we're in, Chris?
Village mixed, I believe.
Yes, village mix.
All right, so, and so I guess it'd be helpful to take a look at that. So it's a good question, John, to remind us. Village mix, page 19 of our regs. Quite a bit of, actually, we talked about this in the the sketch plan. Light industry, class 1, is a permitted use in village mix. And that's a defined term.
So it's business yard is actually what this qualifies.
Well, even with a shop?
The shop, yeah, because a business yard is a site primarily used to store and maintain construction, landscaping, similar heavy equipment and materials and facilities customarily required,
Yeah, that sounds right.
and may include associated
All right.
office space and
All right.
enclosed areas for vehicle or
So-
equipment repair and maintenance.
So business yard, if that's the use that Chris comes up with ultimately, it sounds like it's what his plan is, that'd be a conditional use, so we do conditional use review for that.
And the plan was to have that at the next hearing of the final.
Okay,
In conjunction, there'll be 2 separate hearings the same evening.
right, so you're gonna need a lot more detail though, than just, you're gonna have to put some meat on the bones of exactly what you've got in mind for the conditional use review, what the building's gonna be, what the landscaping's gonna be, all that stuff, so. If you don't have to combine them, and it might be better to wait for the conditional use until you really know what you want to do, rather than come in with just sort of getting stuff down on paper to get it down because we told you you can combine them.
But if I don't combine them, I don't wanna subdivide it,
Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean? That's where I'm,
Well, right,
I
but
would just leave it.
but conditional use review can't be abstract. It can't be like, I want to put a machine shop there. You actually have to have specifics for conditional use review. And
And you have the criteria.
I do.
yeah. But look at it this way, I mean, I'd rather there are two schools of thought on it. You can get your subdivision and get the good information down on the plat, and then come back with more detail on the conditional use review, which odds are you're gonna get what you want, because it's a business yard, is the kind of thing you're talking about, and it's a use for that zone, as conditional use. So you can wait to put the meat on, well, if something didn't go your way, you didn't like it, you can always merge lots.
Yeah.
Chris, when Chris probably gives you the requirements, a lot of them are negative things. You're just showing that you're not hurting the zoning plan, things offsite. It's not so hard. You know,
Right.
He'll take you through it, but there is more that you have to tell us.
Including things like hours of operation and all that, and how many employees parking space, how many parking spaces are gonna need, landscaping, screening, all this stuff. It's not hard, but all I'm saying is you don't need to, if the plan isn't formulated in your head yet, you don't have to rush ahead and have it for the next subdivision meeting if you don't want to.
The plan's pretty clear in my head, I just gotta get it on paper.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, from my discussions with Chris, it sounds like it's a matter of getting from here to the paper.
All right, that's your call. I'm just saying,
This has been 25 years of working in a little shop.
yeah, okay, I get it.
He deserves this. This is
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
And
Well-
also, of course, you can look up the conditional uses online.
Okay.
Or maybe if you ask Chris nicely, he'll give you some of these. But it begins about section 350 through 358.
I've actually I used that and created a checklist for the applicants.
So that's,
Yeah, so Tom's right, it's really, it doesn't harm it's in conformance with the town plan. It fits in it's in character, it's not in conflict with the uses surrounding area. So when you look at that, that's the kind of evidence we're gonna need. We're gonna need to know what's over here, what's over here, what's over here, that kind of stuff. It doesn't need to show up on a map or plat necessarily, but that's the kind of detail that we need. And, there's plenty of people who've gotten conditional use. It's not hurdles that you can't get over, but we do have to dot the i's and cross the
Sure,
t's.
definitely.
Any, Josh, I can't see you, so if you need to speak up, if you want to, that's okay. You can
No, it's-
unmute himself. And you have any questions, Josh?
Nope,
or insights? Okay.
nope, it looks fine to me. It looks like the grading is gonna be a little bit tough there where your driveway is, but I think this should be fine.
You're on the west side of the driveway there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily, I think he's got the tools and knowledge to fix the grading.
Yep.
I think there's a couple neighbor butters that are on there.
Yeah, so any other questions or comments from the board before we open it up to public?
No, it looks good.
Okay, any folks from the public want to have a question or a comment? You need to tell us who you are and where you live in order so we can determine if you're an interested person or not, but you can comment either way.
I'd like to speak. I'm Steve Alario. My property is just next to what I think is lot 3 on your plan.
Yeah, I see Lands of Alario is noted on the
Right.
map. That's
It's a
you?
residential property, and we've been a bed and breakfast here for over 10 years. And I'm concerned in what is the interest of, or what is the intent of what's going to be done with lot 3, number one, because if that's used for any sort of industrial or, anything that produces a lot of loud noise, that's going to impact what we do. We have people come here to be in the quiet and enjoy a quiet night's sleep and some time just sitting out enjoying the countryside. So I'm very concerned about that. I'd like to hear more about what that plan is. I'm inexperienced with this, as you can probably tell by the way I'm speaking, but if that all comes under conditional use and this is not the appropriate time to deal with that, maybe you can explain to me when is the appropriate time for that. But that's one of my concerns. And then the other concern would be what kind of vehicles are going to be parked on the property? Is there going to be a lot of truck traffic? As it is, we have some traffic between Lathrop Mill and the yard that I believe his nephew's own down at the other end of, it's not actually on Hewitt, it's on Lower Notch Road. But we don't need any more truck traffic on the road, especially if it's going to travel at a higher rate of speed than the current speed limit. There's been a few accidents down here because people just passing through have been traveling at a high rate of speed. In fact, I was involved in one of those. Motorcycle hit me as I pulled out of my driveway. So is this the appropriate time to discuss these things, or where in the process do we get to give our input?
Well, with respect to uses of lot 3, there's no proposed use yet. So if it was something that was proposed that required conditional use, then there'd be a hearing before this board that would be substantive. So right now, this is just, as far as the subdivision, it's just lot lines on a map.
Okay.
But the last question, Steve, about like traffic on the road, that is relevant because it's on lot 1, which is down the road a ways. But in terms of the 2 lots immediately adjoining you, he's not asking for anything at this point other than to subdivide. He's only asking for conditional use. So most of the concerns that you talked about of this industrial use, the parking, all that, it's going to be 2 lots away. There's nothing been asked for on the lots here.
Right. And to the extent that it appears that Chris is going to, at the next hearing, it's going to be it's going to have a dual purpose hearing. It's going to be the hearing for the final subdivision approval, but also a hearing for a conditional use application for the proposed use on lot 1. And traffic is one of the things that we'll be looking at, because that's one of the criteria of conditional use. I mean, as you can imagine, the traffic issue depends on what the actual proposed use is. If it's going to be a McDonald's with a drive-through, it's different than if it's going to be a place where they work on their equipment. So.
And hours of operation, I'm sorry, hours of operation would be included under conditional use as well. then.
Yeah, that's right.
I see.
Yeah.
Also, it's not an inappropriate question to ask Chris how many trucks he thinks might go there on a daily basis or something like that. That's not an inappropriate question.
Right. And so if it turned out that lots 2 and 3 were going to be residential houses, let's say, something that's a permitted use in the zone, and if you look in the village mixed zone, which is page 19 in the regs, there's a whole bunch of things. If it's a permitted use, it's a permit that Chris Hurley can issue. It doesn't come before the board for approval. It's only certain things that come before the board, and that what the most important of which is conditional use. So if somebody wants to put in houses on those 2 lots, it wouldn't get to us.
Right.
And you have to watch for the posting of the permit. That's the difference between a permitted use in the zone and a conditional use. A permitted use is a use by right. It doesn't require additional approval or any approval from us. A conditional use might be okay, might not be okay, might be okay with conditions. And so it's a judgment call of the board as a whole.
Okay, I understand. Then we'll, the way that I can keep abreast of how developments are occurring, what's the best way for me to keep track of that? From the Bristol website and the town
There'll be a
website,
notice-
or?
And there'll also be a notice in the paper for the conditional use.
I see,
uh,
okay.
It'll be published because he's not an adjoiner.
Yes.
Well, he is an
You got a butter.
adjoiner. Oh, you're gonna get notice personal to you.
You can also just talk to each other.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But
I
you're
certainly don't
you're-
want to impinge on anyone else's
Yeah,
business.
you can just
Sure.
talk to each other.
But you're gonna
I'm-
get personal notice of the next hearing.
Okay, great. I'm new at this, and I just want to know that everybody's going to be happy is the best way. Okay,
Yep.
great. Thanks. I
Do you
appreciate
have
the
any other
info, guys.
questions, or Steve, do you have any other questions?
At this point, I don't think so. No.
Okay, Josh? I saw your hand. No, you're okay? John? No? Anybody else who's here participating remotely? You need to unmute yourself if you want to speak.
According to the only other butter that's listed, maybe Donovan.
Yeah.
One of those are-
Well, they wouldn't have to be in a butter to speak.
Oh, that's true.
So Steve, you are an interested person because you're in the immediate neighborhood. You have an interest that's potentially impacted. So the record, Peggy, you can reflect that because he's in the butter. Any other questions from anyone for Chris, or comments that information they'd like to see included in the final permit application for subdivision? Anything else that the plat doesn't show that we think it ought to show? Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Especially for the conditional use, I think it would be nice if you laid the parking lot out a little bit.
It's a requirement.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yep. I'll work with Chris to go through
yeah,
the,
all that,
yeah, absolutely.
so you're lighting more.
Yep.
And as long as you're taking some notes for the eventual conditional use hearing, I hope you'll talk about backup beepers, hours of operation, idling, truck idling, that sort of thing. Fencing, if you're going to have a bunch of expensive equipment there, is this going to be cyclone fenced around the whole operation? Those sorts of aesthetic and neighborly concerns would be first on my list of questions. I think this zone is, it allows a lot of different uses, and that's good. But I think, there's a lot of established residential uses there. The first line of the zone definition is this district shall promote opportunities for employment and housing within easy reach of the walkable core of the village. To me, that emphasizes not exclusively, but it emphasizes residential development. And so, my concerns would be how any sort of other non-residential development comports with the sort of existing character of the area and what we hope it to be in the future, which I think you can address all that, but.
Any other questions or comments for Chris? Okay, then we're done with Chris's preliminary permit, subdivision permit application, and we'll move on to permit number, item D, which is permit number 21-400, Emily Spalding and Peter Freilich, hope I said that right, at 49 Bristol Cliffs Drive, parcel number 090158, is requesting just the application for planned unit development approval. So who's here for this application?
Sure.
Jason?
Jason Barnard here. Good evening, everybody.
Who else? And Peggy?
Emily's here as well.
Yeah, I didn't, you gotta identify
Emily's
yourself so Peggy gets it.
Got it.
Emily's on the left and Peggy Spalding is on the right, I believe.
Yes.
Did you get that, Peg? Our Peggy? Peggy
Yeah,
Conner, did you-
sorry.
you got the name?
Think so.
And I have someone here from our company as well, Donovan Ward. He's on the line as well. So
I see, yep, we see him. Hi, Donovan.
How's it
he's
going?
sitting there.
Okay,
I can take a moment and run you guys through the project with where we left off last time.
right.
Which map would you like up, Jason?
Do you want to swear us in first?
I sure do.
Okay.
All of you who are gonna testify, raise your hand. No Spalding? Spalding's yes, all right. You solemnly swear that the evidence you, or affirm that the evidence you shall give before the Development Review Board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Say aye. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
All right.
So I believe the last point we were in the first map, I think, Chris, if you want to go to either the site plan, would probably be the best one, or the survey plat, the S1 in particular, and the PL1. Those I can kind of give you an overview of the project.
Yep, which one would you prefer up right now?
You can go with the S1.
Perfect, give me just a second, I'll bring it up.
You got it.
Let me find my mouse.
So I believe the last time we were here was in March for
All
the
right.
sketch plan hearing.
All right.
That was prior to any survey of the parcel, wastewater design, permitting, that sort of thing. So at that point, it was an ortho-based sketch plan with the tax maps. If Chris wants to zoom in, just pull the drawing a little bit, go north with it. I can get the
Yep.
lot 1 house and also the lot 2 house. That's probably.
How's that look?
Yep, perfect. The property is owned by Miss Spalding and her daughter, Emily and Peter Freilich. They are going to be potentially building a house on lot 2. The proposal is to subdivide a 6.5 acre lot, create a 4.92 acre parcel. Lot 1, which already contains a single family home. Lot 2, 1.58 acres in size, would be using the northwesterly corner of the property, trying to contain the development into a cluster type development where the front half of the parcel can remain open as open space. The purpose of this is to share infrastructure such as the existing driveway. Also the drilled well, we've run a pump test on the well to show that that also has adequate water to serve 2 single family homes. We have everything prepared. We've done the notifications to the state. We'll be sending out the state water and wastewater permit application tomorrow. In terms of water and wastewater permitting, I don't see any major concerns here. The parcel has great soil, sand and gravel, meets the requirement with the single family homes that are associated with the property. We've identified a replacement area for Miss Spalding's lot, which is lot 1. It's in a fenced-in pasture area. You can kind of see it just above to the northeast of the house. Chris has his pointer over it right now. So
I see it, yep.
The intent of the subdivision, obviously, we are within the density of the RA2 zone. It is a 1.5 acre lot. This subdivision is being proposed as a PUD. There was a considerable amount of discussion with that at the sketch plan. The purpose for this, and if you familiar with the PUD interpretation of the PUD section of the regulations, is to cluster development, promote open space, protect natural features, and one of the best natural features is sort of that corridor along Lower Notch Road, which if you look at where the level topography is, that's all nice field. So the purpose was to sort of use stuff that's there already in terms of infrastructure and maintain that same sort of character that's already present without having to subdivide and draw lines out into that field somewhere. I think it fits very well in terms of achieving that goal. It's well balanced, the lot's accessible, power is close by. You can see there's a pole to the north that we do come down and are able to serve that without much of a run. It makes sense in terms of where the house would be and the rest of the infrastructure. So please feel free to throw out any questions and I'll answer them.
I will just share a comment with the board. One of the concerns that folks had was that, well, PUD is for, sort of assumes planning at the outset and for the development. Here we have an existing home, existing property that's going to turn into a PUD, and there was concern about sort of the camel's nose under the tent of another change down the road with lot 1, another lot. And I was thinking about that after the sketch plan hearing, and we can certainly, if the board wants to, we can certainly condition the PUD that this is it. 2 lots, and lot 1 doesn't get any smaller. So I think those were wise, reasonable concerns, and just occurred to me later, hey, we can certainly address that, and so we'll keep that in mind when we get around to making motions. If the board feels that that's an appropriate condition, we can certainly do that.
Can I just comment one thing on that, Kevin? So you could condition it, and if it would be done further, and condition it that it be continued as a PUD, where there's more cluster development if it was ever subdivided further in the future. I think that they still have the potential, being that it's a 2-acre lot or a 2-acre zone, that they do have the ability to create one additional dwelling or one additional house lot. Would that be, in my opinion, that would be the better, more appropriate way to go, is if this were to be further subdivided, that it were continued in the PUD fashion where the open space was protected, the houses were clustered. Conceivably, if you look at the center, almost the turnaround right to the north of the existing house, you could have another clustered home in there. It wouldn't exceed to the east, it wouldn't exceed the density, and it would still maintain that open space out front. So I don't want to see, if that is the case and no further subdivision, I think that it'd be better to condition it as continued as a PUD and not.
Well, yeah, I was thinking generally. PUD is asking for a relaxation of various dimensional requirements. So.
Yep, which we have done with the 1.5 acre lot.
Right.
We've also asked for relief from the dimensional setback. There's a small shed on the property where we have a proposed subdivision boundary, which is the southerly boundary of lot 2.
Yeah, well, right, we
It's
can,
also being requested.
yeah, so let's get the proposal thoroughly on the record, and then we can talk about, then the board can ask questions and do whatever. So let's identify, Jason, all the waivers essentially that this PUD is requiring. One of which is the size of lot 2 is below the minimum lot size.
That's correct.
That's one relaxation, and you mentioned another one, is the shed, the barn?
Yeah, there's a small
Oh, I see
shed
the
that
shed.
is within
Yeah.
the setback of lot 1. I mean, obviously, we can make a funky boundary line that goes around that shed. Then again, you get into something that when you monument it later on down the line, it just becomes an issue.
Yeah. So
Shed
that's-
could be removed if necessary, if it was a real issue. However, part of the PUD is to ask for some of these.
Right, so, and I just want to get all those on the record, so.
Yep.
We've got 2, any others?
Those are the 2 that we recognize. I'm not sure that there's any more that we really we meet all the other setbacks. We're proposing a building envelope for lot 2, which is smaller than the zoning setback. So we should be good in terms of the actual zoning setbacks themselves.
Yep. Okay. Anything further to present, or is it time for questions?
I'm good for questions.
Okay, board? Go, John.
Yeah, why not just take a little bit more of lot 1 and make this a conforming lot?
We could.
Why not?
Fits better as a PUD.
But why not do it that way?
This was at the request of the landowners. They wanted to keep the front part of that property open. Looking at the PUD regs, it does fall within that to protection of
But-
open space.
Yeah, but you don't have to develop every inch of a lot. You can still have 2 acres in the lot and keep that field open, right?
You could.
So John, my only concern from a zoning standpoint, if you extend out another half acre out in that open meadow, down the road, this property changes hands and somebody wants to plop a garage out in that newly half acre that you've designated, there's nothing that stops that. Right now, they're hemmed in. All development will only occur in that 1.5 acre corner. And they have to abide by all setbacks with that.
That's not what I heard. I heard that as a future PUD, there could be a 3rd house there.
I'm saying as it sits today, so
No,
if it-
they'd have to come in and amend the PUD.
right, it would be
Yeah,
a
they-
whole
they
other
would
hearing for a third.
Yeah, I get that. I just don't understand why not have a 2 acre size lot? Why not?
It can be. I mean, we could essentially make 3.
I know it can be. The question is, why not?
3 acre lots. Better use of the property, the landowner, that's where they want to have the subdivision. And it's within the regulations that are in your bylaws,
But is there a reason why?
because they want to have the subdivision that way.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I had wanted, when we originally talked about it being 2 acres, I didn't want it going over into the pasture. I thought it would make sense, and I would prefer just to have it go down the center of the driveway and not have the lot number 2 going across the driveway. I thought it'd be better if we both had access to it and that was a straight
Why
division.
is that?
That was a reaction when we saw what the 2 acre lot would look like.
Mhm.
And then we spoke to Jason and we thought we could do it this way and still maintain sharing infrastructure. So we thought this was the best way forward. There's really no,
Adding a half an acre to the proposed lot 2 wouldn't force you to build on it, nor would it force you to move the driveway or do anything else with it. It could just be part of that lot, which would be a more linear ask from the town, because right now you're asking us to sort of back into a PUD. And I'm not comfortable with the precedent of doing that, but I just don't see a really solid rationale for not having it be a 2-acre lot when there's the balance, you know, there's what, 4.92 acres in lot 1 still.
You know, I believe that they gave a very good rationale at the last hearing, and it made a lot of sense to me, and I'm in support of it.
Yeah.
I'm not so caught up in the 2 acres as being that important either here. I think that you've got 2 substantial lots. And I see the logic behind where they've drawn the line, John. They've drawn it down the road, in the middle of the road, and they don't want to come any further closer to the main house. So there's a logic to this line. I don't know that we do any serious damage to, not any damage really to our zoning plan or anything if we allow a 1.5 acre lot. And what are you worried about?
Oh, what am I worried about? Sorry, Tom, you're a little garbled, so sometimes it's hard to hear. I'm worried about the press. I mean, it's a 2-acre, it's RA2, not RA 1.58.
So can I just, in your regulations, one of the sentences say that PUDs are encouraged in this district?
Yes.
That's in your regulations.
Yeah, also in the regulations here's the definition of PUD. 1 or more lots, tracts, parcels of land to be developed in the future, I would add there, to be developed as a single entity. The plan for which may propose any authorized combination of density, etc. This plan as authorized may deviate. It's in the future, like the planning is ahead of the development. This to me just seems like backing into asking the town to waive its 2-acre zoning in lot size in this zone for a reason which is basically because the owners don't want to.
So the other piece with this overall parcel is you've got 4 acres, 6 acres total roughly. So based on density, it's allowed to have up to 3 building lots at some point in time. Whether you do it with this 1.5 acre lot, or later on, there's still just over 4 acres, a 2-acre lot. They could never add more than 1 parcel, even in the future if they wanted to. Right now, if they wanted, they could leave it, they could just do a straight up 3-lot subdivision if they wanted. I reiterate what Tom said. I feel that the use of the natural driveway, the existing property lines, this is a classic example of utilizing the land that the landowner has and maximizing, minimizing the impact on the overall parcel.
But again, I don't see that. I mean, nobody's proposing to build all over the whole parcel just because it's 1.58 acres or 2 acres. They're going to put a house, there's a house envelope here and that sort of thing. People do easements all the time. You're going to have some property arrangement if the line goes down the middle of the road for use of the common driveway anyway. Why couldn't that lot line just be another 1/2 acre and have an easement for the first house that's already there? It would then comport nice and linearly with the zoning, be 2 acres, and it wouldn't be, to me, something of, a planned unit development clearly to me implies that the whole development is thought out in advance and not just added onto one house at a time and called a PUD.
Well, John, another thing to consider is sites are developed in all sorts of different ways. If it's easier to conceive of this as being a new site with an existing building to remain, maybe that's another way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't see a plan here. I just see another house proposed. That's not like a planned unit development that gets more density or whatever. It's just like, let's just split off this non-conforming lot. and
Well,
call it PUD because
They are
that's,
putting, they are putting the owner, they are putting themselves in a more restrictive position because now if they come back with any type of a development, any type of structures, ancillary structures, they're going to be subject to this same process over again. And the town benefits by getting a large green field out maintained out front, which is not necessarily going to be maintained if this gets chopped into 3 parcels or 2 parcels.
And transferred.
what was that?
It's not- There is the potential for future transfer of the lot. I mean, I keep coming back to that it is encouraged. I don't know how we're backing into a PUD. Other than we've asked to create a lesser of a dimensional lot in terms of acreage, where it is allowed in this district. And quite frankly, it is a good use of how this parcel is created. We did look at options for a 2-acre lot, for a 3-acre lot. Gave them some conceptual drawings. This is what Mrs. Spalding wanted and wanted to have her lot 1 look like when it was left over. I think it's actually a well thought out plan and good use of the property.
So are you suggesting that we put into the, any approval of the planned unit development that field be left undeveloped?
I'm not suggesting that, no.
I don't think that's in our purview to make that request. They could do any number of PUD revisions and develop the property any number of times down the line.
Well, maybe, it depends on if we.
I was asking if they want.
Yeah. Brenda was talking, directly to the applicant, and, you know, we have pretty wide conditioning authority, which is it's something we have the ability to do, not suggesting one way or the other. I think John raises a good conceptual point in the sense that PUDs are not supposed to be done on a step-by-step basis. The concept is a comprehensive development idea. So I personally have some concern if the plan is, let's do this one and then we'll figure out what we're going to do next. And it's always, I shouldn't say always, it's often harder when you have the argument, well, this is already there, so now doing this extra thing isn't such a big deal. And the PUD concept of planning is you get it all out there at the outset. So I agree the regulations don't prohibit what's happening here with the proposal. I do have concern about if this is the first volley and, you know, there's some plan a year or 2 down the road that's kind of fuzzy, but we want to do something else with the remaining lot 1 because it's big enough. And, you know, if it was a proposed subdivision that met the minimum lot size, well, that's one thing. But if it turns into, if it would be an additional PUD, I'd rather know about it now and look at this thing in a comprehensive way.
Also, if I can say something else, when I looked at section 609, part 1, purpose, all of the things refer to physical descriptions of what is happening to the lot, not to what the owner thinks would look nicer or whatever. They're all appropriate use of the land, appropriate use of housing, and all of this really needs to be done as they're thinking of it all being done as a whole, like has already been mentioned, not as little bits. It all needs to go together.
I think there is a reasonable basis for the 2 lots or for that first lot. Yes, it could be bigger, but with the topography, the steepness, and the open meadow to the front, you know, I see a reasonable basis for the proposal, for the layout as it is with the shared driveway. Yes, the lot could be bigger, so you could work your way down into the meadow more. But the PUD doesn't require that that the PUD be the only way. It's always true with a lot, when you develop a PUD, that you're looking for relaxation of what the regulations would otherwise require. So the fact that it could be 2 acres, to me, doesn't answer the question of whether this PUD is appropriate. That comes with the territory of a PUD. It always could be something different that meets the requirements, but are there reasons to do clustering and relaxation to certain dimensional requirements? Does that help overall? I kind of think this one does, but I am concerned about this domino effect. I don't like that. I don't like the serial. I think I don't like it. I have to think about it before. I think I don't like the concept of serial PUD development. But that's as much as I can. That's where my head is.
Yeah,
So Kevin,
I think,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
John.
Budget.
Well, I was just gonna say that are we conditioning that this PUD? I mean, if they were to come in today with a PUD with 3 residential buildings on it, then
Hold on. Wait a sec. All right, go. Can you start again, Jason? We couldn't hear you. Josh, sorry.
if they were to come with 3 residential units on this property and they were doing the clustering that they were doing today, I don't think that I would take exception to that either. So, I mean, they've got a clear design intent to maintain that clear open space. So maybe.
I don't see that anywhere. I don't see that they're held to that anywhere. Where is there a commitment to maintain the open space?
I think that's what was presented last time, and maybe the condition that Kevin mentioned in the onset of this discussion is what is the bridge to get us there for that.
Mr. Barnard said that restriction would not be acceptable.
I would have to talk to I would have to talk to Mrs. Spalding. I mean, it's not my property. Certainly, if I would like them to have a chance.
Yeah,
to speak.
so, I mean, my mom can speak to it. It's my mother. We want to be closer to her. There is no intention to do anything with that front lot, right? Conditions or not, I'm not familiar with how the zoning laws work, but there's only the intention to build a property for us so that we can be closer. That's it. I don't know if that helps, if that helps at all, but.
That's great. And
The pasture is used for our
horses,
horse, and we're getting another one, so for our horses. I mean, there's absolutely no intent to ever I don't ever plan to subdivide anymore. I mean, this is so that Emily can be near. She lives across the country, and to have spent so many months here would be wonderful.
Thank you. Tom has a question.
I wanted to ask you what our chairman pointed out about the concept of using the PUD again is troublesome to all of us a little bit. So I guess the real question is, well, no one can ever prevent you or a subsequent owner from coming in and asking to amend the PUD. You have that right. Could we now, would you be comfortable if we conditioned this on you stating in, for the record, and us putting in this as a condition that that field would be left open? In other words, you could come back and ask later, but nobody would be very favorable to that, because you would have said that the development of this PUD, this two-home PUD, was partly to keep that open field open in perpetuity. The idea being that that's an important feature of these 2 homes. Can we put that in there? And maybe, Mr. Barnard needs to spend some time to discuss that with you.
I do. Yes.
You just let me know who's talking.
Yeah.
It would come up, I'm in the back, I'll wave my
Oh,
hand.
sorry, we're having trouble hearing.
Yeah, well, you guys can go to, can you break them out if you want?
Break those two out.
Yeah, well, if they want to go with, I don't know. Well, here's a point, which sounds harsh, but I don't mean it to be harsh. We always want to solicit input with potential conditions, and we haven't even voted on that. I just raised the issue. We don't need the landowner's consent. If we were to decide, and here's the permit when these are the conditions, then if you were unhappy with them, you would have the opportunity to appeal the permit decision to the environmental court if you wanted. And if you didn't want to appeal, then that permit would be final, and that's that, and you'd live with it. So we always want to have, I shouldn't say always, we often want to have the input of what we may be thinking about, or individual members may be thinking about would be appropriate. So that's fine. But I don't want to create the notion among the board or with you that we need to have consensus on that, because actually we don't.
And I would just have some input here. I would like to talk with Emily
Sure.
and Mrs. Spalding before they made that decision, because I respect what they're trying to do. I respect how it's laid out. I mean, this is a corner lot with a lot of road frontage, and it's 6.5 acres. 3 houses out there is easily achieved as a by right subdivision, and there would be very little discussion on lot size, road frontage. We'd meet all the dimensional requirements. So
That's right.
before they do give up the third potential lot and say, you know, we don't want to develop this in the future, I would want to ask them and just let them know the long term.
Good idea. I mean, you should discuss that.
Yes.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to take how would we accomplish that, Chris? Do you have any ideas? Well, you guys can talk and we can mute you both.
Or they could just go walk.
Can you guys talk on the phone and we'll move?
We actually, why don't we just go mute? We'll turn the cameras off. I'll just call them on the cell phone.
Yeah, that works. And then you can wave at us when it's time.
Or Jason, you can just call me if you want. You've got my cell when you're ready to come back online.
You got it.
Okay, we'll recess. Everybody can take a break while the Spaldings and Jason are talking.
Or we could, if we need to move it to certain.
Well, we can do, yeah. I mean, it could be continued if we need it.
Sure.
Can we talk about it?
We should.
If they're talking about it?
We could, but no, we can't. No, because they have the right.
We're not in it.
Yeah, well, it's still right. So they would need to be able to hear us talk about it.
So how are you coming on figuring out whether that camp is in the floodplain?
I have a question. I mean, I've been asking a question for
You have the
6 months. Yeah.
I originally was asked that, I sort of avoided it.
Yeah.
So that was a.
Well, you know, the River Watch, Pete was concerned about it, Randy from the conservation.
Yeah, I got.
And it's been going on for over a year. And additional building has been going on for.
Okay. Has it?
Yeah.
I never go down that way, so.
Yeah, you can't see it from the road.
I have it.
Yeah. They're all dirty.
They would have the potential of keeping the field up.
You know, seeing everyone in the office down there makes me want to come down.
Third lot and have the house here. And so, and so,
Because.
I mean, they could, just basically,
Is that free coffee and donuts I'm seeing in there?
They put in the.
Yeah.
Also, and then they could get the acreage.
Yeah. Yeah, they can get the acreage.
Well,
They can still have enough space to be able to build a house up here on the third lot.
Honestly, John,
Yeah.
restrict this,
Yeah,
I'm okay with it, but other than that, then I think they should go to subdivision.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say
I'm
they
not saying
want.
that.
In other words,
Yeah.
but it's their choice, but if
Yeah.
but then I think they have to put their money where their mouth is and say, yeah, we're doing,
Yeah.
this PUD is 2 houses and a beautiful.
Because
Yeah.
they're saying they want to preserve the field.
Yeah.
But then they're gonna have to
But
say,
then they want to be able to build up.
no.
No,
Then
No, I mean, but that's what they're saying. at the moment. They-
well, they can have the potential, Brenda, to divide this into a third lot and still have that.
But John's not wrong, it's not that, they don't have to move the line that far in order to get to 2 acres here.
No.
Once they do that, they got no problems with us.
And as far as the road going through,
Yeah.
you get an easement.
Yeah, even, but it's going down the middle of the road, they're gonna need a mutual easement anyway.
Might as well just have one easement.
My concern is that it leaves a 4+ acre lot, right? They have a total of 6, and that could be divided into 2.
Actually,
Mhm.
could be-
Houses, so they only have 6 point whatever, so it should only be 3. I don't care if they preserve it open, but I don't want to expire it.
Can I interject since I think the chairman said we should not be discussing this
Yeah,
until they're
right.
back. So I would like to participate in this discussion. So either we could discuss it now together.
No, we have to wait.
No, we have to wait.
Because I hear some things that are very interesting. I'd like to hear them full on, you know.
Yeah, no, we can't be discussing as people are chatting about all kinds of stuff, but,
At night, you discuss it.
well,
We could-
but have the applicant needs to be able to hear what we're talking about, and they're not here now, so we're just in recess right now.
Sort of wandering around.
I'm looking at the pictures of the coffin factory down the hall.
I could spend 2.5 hours on the cotton factory trail this weekend. As a rescue from somebody who fell and twisted an ankle.
Is that on the path that goes through?
Oh, on the trail. Yeah. How far along?
You know where all the junk cars are?
Yeah.
Right there. And the only way to get them out was to head back towards the fire station.
Hmm.
Because coming this way through all the slides, there's no way to get
Yeah,
back
that's
through there.
a tough climb out.
We actually ended up going straight out on the Cold Spring Hollow Road.
Oh,
We were able to get landowner permission. I mean, it was emergency, we could have just done it, but I went up and spoke to the landowner real quick. Yeah. That's the first time I've been on the trail down in that part of the trail. I didn't realize
Yeah,
how wide that is.
I've never been on it. I really want to explore that.
You know what trail are we talking about?
The trail that goes,
around Bristol.
Yeah, from South Street, down here at the bottom of South Street, and back, and loops back to the fire station, basically. Along the
we
river.
talked about, that trail is on that site plan for the subdivision for the industrial park. There was a trail that was featured on that plan. It's that trail.
Okay.
You never, it's stuff in your immediate backyard. You just don't.
Chris, I have
Take
a
advantage of
question about something else. So they've been talking about fixing the riverbank on West Street. I assume it's not my side of the street, it's the other, but where along is it?
From from Rod Kuzno's building, so basically right after the bank, the next 4 houses, that bank is washed down, I mean, to the point where there's rubble all the way down to the river now. There's 2 or 3 washes of gravel and riprap that have actually run out across the hiking trail over the last couple of years.
Ah, okay, because
I remember in that flood in '98 or whatever, there was a big washout behind the bank that.
well, the whole thing's unstable.
It's a little
All
hairy.
those junk cars in there.
Yeah, those cars, everyone's like, oh, we should take those cars, but I'm like, no, that's still on the bank out. Don't take them out right now.
Well, and before they fix the
Yeah,
road,
they are.
just as coming from.
Maybe I don't want to know that.
As you got to where the fencing was, the whole thing hit, and what that looked like was a slump that was going to slide right down, because the trucks that go over that are terribly heavy.
So the other piece where the cars are is right behind the creamy stand, basically.
Ooh,
Okay.
So from basically the creamy stand to the bank, that stretch of West Street, that embankment is fairly unstable right now. So they've got a grant to fix it. The downside is that there's I think, a 25% match that the landowners would have to assume. And
These are the people on top, like LaRose and.
LaRose, Kuzno,
There's a rental property, rental house,
yeah, and there's,
has a couple of units in it.
I think there's at least one private residence. And rough numbers out there, were anywhere from like 15 to 40 grand a property is what their out of pocket will be.
No, and you don't know, a couple more floods and they'll be gone.
Yeah, so it's,
Including their houses.
yeah, so that's at that point, then it's all FEMA money. It's one of these catch-22s. And
Well, it's not, is it considered floodplain? It can't be, it's so high compared to the river.
Yeah.
Is it flood, right?
it's not floodplain, but the flood caused it. It's like when they fixed
Oh,
the
yeah.
Merchants Bank, that was all FEMA.
Was it FEMA?
The school is built on inherently unstable ground.
On top of that, if you walk out behind it, since that really heavy rain you had that washed out the two bridges, the soil, again, is slumping in a certain part of the earth. On the other hand, it may last for quite a while, one doesn't know. I mean, it's been 50 years. And the building
When you look
itself,
from Berkeley Road, you look up sometimes with that bank, you say, oh my gosh, that's
but that's not as bad as where it's washing out.
behind the bank, yeah.
I mean, and one of the problems with the gravel pit that's behind it is for some years after they built the high school, the people who owned the gravel pit down below, as the gravel fell, they were digging it up because they said that's on our land, and they finally got it legally, so it stopped. So they wouldn't.
They keep undermining it.
Yes.
It's under it. And like the town of New Haven was there for a while. They ran out of outward, but they could go any further because they popped into the cemetery. So they just went down.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
So the Stony Hill gravel pit, that was New Haven?
Yeah, right. The one that you can see is right on the corner. That's
Yeah.
actually New Haven.
Yeah.
Bristol owns further in, and Ferrisburg has a small little gravel pit in there as well.
Huh.
So a lot of that was done as a landfill eventually, and then covered over. So that's been landfill for what,
It's
25 years maybe?
Yeah, and Viacom, where the last owners of it was, Casellas owned it for the longest time. It's right after the cemetery was a landfill, or was a landfill. Casellas ran it, and then they sold it to Viacom, and then that ended up shutting down. It's funny, when Bill Brown was here, we were closing our landfill, and the Viacom landfill is actually a lime landfill. And Bill, and I said to Bill, because I was running landfill stuff, I'm like, why don't we move the Bristol landfill back to a lime landfill? And as we put trash in it, we're actually shoring up the bank.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
it's a win-win. I mean,
They're holding up the high school.
yeah. And everyone's like,
I don't know if you guys remember, but in 1989, they were going to make that whole gravel pit west of Mount Abe a new regional landfill. There was a proposal for a private developer, Casella, to do that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, they're going to fill it back up again all the way from 17 all the way down to Perry's place over 70 years or something. And I can't remember the time. It was decades long project proposal, but it was stopped for, I'm not sure what reasons, I don't remember, but that was a huge major controversial proposal. They were going to bring trash in from up to 100 miles away.
Yeah, we're gonna be like Coventry.
Or Middlesex, or Moortown rather.
the only landfill we have left is
Coventry, I think, yeah.
And there's complaints about that because it seems to be leaching into,
Tomato.
yeah. And then,
Well, when it's getting bigger.
and
they
then
need to
into
keep
the
expanding it.
Canadian.
So where is the garbage going?
all the Coventry.
It's all going to Coventry.
It's the only landfill in the state.
And then what?
Well, I think they got their permit to expand Coventry.
They're going to build a nice ski mountain.
There's, I believe there's 6 or 8 other sites that have been preliminary approved for potential landfills in the future.
Then everyone says no, which I don't blame them.
Unfortunately, we gotta get rid of trash.
Yeah.
But we make so much trash. tree. I was talking with my parents once,
with the organics out of the waste stream of the house.
but my parents were talking, I was talking to my parents, and somehow waste baskets came up, and they said, one said to the other, did you have any waste baskets in your house? No, they didn't make enough trash to put in a waste basket. And now we just have so much trash.
And what they did have, they brought outside and burned it in barrels.
Perhaps,
You know, anything, anything and everything.
oh,
That's
yeah,
what people did.
but there wasn't much of it, and it wasn't all plastic.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
it's the packaging material, and so if we get so much stuff by Amazon, and that sometimes you get something and there's so much packaging, you can't.
Well, I mean,
Can't find it.
I-
Well,
You can't find what you ordered.
I feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Could be this bad, I would have done
I
something.
mean, I bought a new flat top grill this past weekend. Opened it up and it's, it's packed in my least favorite thing in the entire world, which is styrofoam.
Yeah.
And I say that from, again, when I ran the landfill, when we would, in the spring, it would get wet, and every once in a while we'd dig down into old ick. And the only two things you could ever tell what it was, there was two items you could always tell: white styrofoam.
Yeah.
And polar fleece.
Oh,
Polar fleece does not break down at all. The 20-year-old polar fleece blanket has been buried in the landfill. Still is all bright orange and yellow and whatever color it was when it went in. Or it's all plastic.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, those are my two least favorite things.
I guess we've given
Yeah,
them food for thought.
I agree with you on styrofoam, but polar fleece into consideration for me. I never thought of polar fleeces.
Do some research on it.
Forever.
Yeah.
but the thing is, there are other materials that one can use. I mean, some of the chemicals over at school would come packed in these things which are made from leftover potato scraps. They look like styrofoam.
Yeah.
You put water on it and they just go.
And Vermont, luckily, we've got one of the highest recycling rates. I mean, starting in 2 weeks, we're gonna have one of the highest composting rates, so we don't have a choice.
Part of the problem is that it used to be a real good viable use for all that recycling. And
Well,
then-
when China stopped buying, that
Yeah.
really hurt, because
Yeah,
we did, but we also threw a bunch of stuff in that we weren't supposed to, they got pissed off, so, yeah.
But
We
all
didn't
this,
separate well.
it's almost impossible to avoid the packaging. I mean, you can't.
well, especially since we have so much stuff shipped in, yeah, right.
Yeah, the composting's not gonna affect me at home, but all of a sudden, at my office, what do we do? There's, whose job is it? Where does it go?
Well, I mean,
Someone will
again,
have to take it home with
when the universal recycling laws went in, I remember Mike Fisher was campaigning at the time, and they had just passed it. He was one of the ones who passed it. He walked in my yard. And I said, "You signed off on the universal?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I can't vote for you just on that ordinance." "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's great in theory." I said, "But help me out, Howard." I said, "Here in Bristol, Lincoln, it's easy. I have a compost pile in my backyard. I take care of it, cover it up, we put stuff in it, no meat, blah, blah, blah." I said, "How do you do that in Vermont?" "Well, what is your plan for?" I mean, I lived in a condo. There was 300 units in our whole condo complex. Our trash was in the garage, was underneath the building. That's what the compost is gonna go. That's gonna create vermin. They don't have a plan. And he's like,
No, they have a.
No, it's not quite as bad as that. I mean,
Yeah.
the right kind of bin and everything you can do.
Yeah.
it's the volume.
Yeah, it's the volume.
But, and that's if you can get them to do it right. These are the same people do that
You're
recycle.
right, you can't put
They
the
aren't separating their trash already. So it's, it was.
difficult, I agree with it.
I mean, at that time, when they passed the law, there wasn't, they didn't, we didn't have curbside pickup available. Now, commercial,
It didn't go in immediately.
yeah, so commercial is huge. And I think the commercial one was the big one for us. When you stop having the grocery stores and the restaurants dumping large volumes of matter. The other part, I had a question, and I still nobody can give me a great answer. One of the cool parts about a landfill that makes it work is the organic matter. That's the microbes are what break down the diapers. So if we eliminate more and more of the organic matter, I'm not sure what's going to break down our diapers.
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
And so we send it to the compost center. The other ones, it reduces the methane by not did send them out. Yeah, I did send them
Okay,
out.
I didn't get them in my packet.
Oh, I did not print them out. I apologize.
Could we discuss minutes? I
No.
read them, they look pretty good.
Yeah, but we can't.
Oh, we're on.
Would have to do it again.
You're right.
Oh, here they come. They're back. Hey, we're just gonna get one member back, Jason.
Yeah, no problem. So we had a good discussion. We appreciate all the input by members.
Hang tight, Jason, just 1 minute. We're
Oh,
our
whoops.
board back.
Okay.
It'll be just a moment here.
That's okay.
She's indisposed.
We made it through the first 3 applications. We can sit a little bit longer.
Actually, for having 3 and we've gotten through them in a little over 2 hours. I mean, 4 total. I'm pretty impressed.
It's a very good job.
Good organization job on your front, Chris. Take a little credit.
So
Sure, sure.
do we have everybody?
No, we're waiting on Brenda. She'll
Okay.
be back shortly.
Jason, could you imagine trying to do 4 of these out in Canton?
No, I couldn't imagine if this were Heinsberg, we would be here until midnight.
Heinsberg is a big town.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Brenda's here. Go ahead, Jason.
Sure. So we took some time, we talked about it. There's a few board members who haven't offered an opinion. Originally, when we started looking at this design and layout, the Spaldings, myself, and Emily really thought it was a good design, a good layout, to protect that open front. We'd like to hear other opinions, other members of the board, and kind of get their opinion. And in all likelihood, we'd like to continue this hearing to give it some more thought and potentially come back in with the plan as is, or make this a by right subdivision with a 2-acre lot where we would take the PUD off the table. So just want to have a little bit of input from other members of the board to say, what's everybody else's opinion? We've heard.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine if people want to, I don't have a problem with that. If people want to opine, just keep in mind, there's been no consensus of this board. We haven't voted on anything. We haven't, so if anyone who hasn't weighed in feels like they want to, go ahead. If not, fine.
I have something to say. I don't think I've said anything before, so I may be one that you're wondering what's going on in my mind. The fact that we start out with 6.5 acres, is that correct?
Right.
Yes.
You would have 2 homes with 4 acres left. And my concern has been all along that in the future, that 4 acres, unless we put some sort of condition on it, could be divided into 2 more parcels. And then we
Correct.
wind up with 4 homes on 6 acres in an area that's 2 acres.
No,
No?
they could have 3.
Well, down the road,
No.
we're left with
Never
4
get-
acres? No?
You never get to one.
Okay,
Yeah, because with PUDs, you can't increase the overall.
okay.
You can just
Right.
tighten it. You can just tighten up the
But
spacing.
one of them would have been, one would be an acre and a half. That's the problem.
No, I understand that, but,
No, they could, no matter how you slice it,
okay.
it's 3
That
lots.
4 acres
It's 3
cannot
lots.
be made into 2-acre parcels.
No, they could add 1 more to that 4 acre.
You know,
That's
they could-
correct.
Yeah, they could carve off 2 acres out of that 4.5 acre lot. And that'd be a straight subdivision. with PUD on the other side, you know? So, but ultimately, there could be 3 building lots
Okay.
here with different dimensions and siting. And you could have, because of PUD, you could have 2 lots that are less than 2 acres.
No, I
And
understand.
the
that.
third
Yeah.
lot would be bigger, necessarily be bigger. Does anybody else want to say what's on their mind or not?
I'd like to say a little bit more if nobody else.
Sure.
I don't want to step on anybody else who hasn't had a chance yet, though.
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
This is really for my fellow board members and not so much for the applicants, but if we have 2 acre zoning, but it's not 2 acre zoning, if you call it a PUD, then we really don't have 2 acre zoning. So that's a concern of mine. I also noticed that back to this particular application, it's for a subdivision. It's not for a PUD. The application for this is for a subdivision. I don't know if there's a distinction there that matters, but I would think that if somebody came in to do a PUD, the application would be for a PUD. It would say that on the application. It doesn't. I read the language of the definition in the bylaws of what a PUD is, and it's to be developed. It's clearly in the context of you have a piece of land with or without a building on it, and you come at it with a holistic approach to developing this, and then that's it. It's not, well, the next building we want to put on it, we're calling that a PUD too. That's not a PUD. It's clearly the intent of that language, and having a PUD provision in these bylaws is to encourage a cohesive vision of development for a given parcel of land. This is not what this is. This is backwards looking. This is, we've got a house, we'd like to have another house, let's call it a PUD instead of, and that to me is like a backwards contortion when there's plenty of land here. There's a stated intent not to develop the rest of the land. So why not make the 2 conforming lots conform, or make the 2 lots conform? Otherwise, everybody up and down the RA2 district or in any other district that has a minimum lot size is just going to call their thing a PUD, and that'll be that. And we won't have any minimum lot sizes.
Actually, John, you still have the density factor. So there's still a density which factors into the PUD. So no matter how you slice it, whether you do it as a PUD and you make 2 smaller lots with 1 bigger lot left over, this property can support only 3 houses. And PUDs are oftentimes done with smaller parcels, smaller subdivisions. I've done a number of them. Done a number of them in a lot of other towns. They range anywhere in size from 9 and 10 lots to 2 or 3 lots. And oftentimes it is to not make square cookie cutter looking subdivisions where you can have parcels that are more creatively subdivided, developed, shared infrastructure with bigger open spaces. And just to go further, if you look at your PUD definitions and the first section in 609, that's what that section does support. I'll give you the fact that we're not coming in with a third lot right now. Maybe it would be easier if we did, if we had the full density developed and we had a PUD with a 3rd lot on the table. Maybe that would look more like a PUD. I mean, is that what I'm hearing from you? That it doesn't necessarily have to be a unit or a condo complex. PUDs typically do go in line with subdivisions.
No, I'm quite familiar. I've been covering PUDs since they were proposed in 1988 as reform to the 1 house and 10 acre problem that we have in Vermont. And so I covered them on one side as a reporter, and I've advocated them on another side as, somebody's interested in smart growth. And so the whole PUD idea is great. It's exactly what we should do, but it's about going forwards into a planned unit development, not backing into how do we get another building on this lot. That's not planning, that's backing into it. And so, you know, if you were to come forward with this piece of property or this house that exists and say, hey, we want to do a PUD, and the overall density was, I don't know, several building units, and you're leaving the field down by the road, you know, open in perpetuity, or have recreation trails for the residents and the homeowners association, that sort of thing, and make it all fit together, that's a planned development. And you know, I would be very supportive of that sort of thing, but I'm worried about the precedent that this sets, because you know, I think we just blow a hole in 2 acre minimum lot size if we let that happen.
So you're suggesting a by right subdivision in this case?
I'm not
Where there's
suggesting
no-
anything.
No control.
Remember, my first question was, you've got plenty of acreage. Why isn't this a conforming lot? Why do we have to establish a possibly negative precedent in our zoning because you don't want a 2 acre lot for no distinct reason that I've heard yet, other than
I guess
we
I don't
don't.
view it as a negative precedence when it's well thought out and planned and things are consolidated.
And John, this wouldn't be a precedent. This process has been used in Bristol in this very similar manner when the planning commission was hearing the PUDs. There was one, Wickham's, I believe, on Farrington Road was a PUD for a small lot. So that one just pops in my head right off. So this would not be a first time that this process has been used in this manner. So I don't believe that you're setting precedent.
Well, yeah,
change it.
whether it's precedent tends to mean that, you know, you're bound by what you've done, and we wouldn't be, but then again, at least not technically. But John's point's a fair one. It's how we think about these things. Brenda, did you want to weigh in on your thoughts on this at all, or not?
I think I have.
Okay. All right, so any other comments from the board? And, you know, if applicants, you would prefer that we continue to a date certain for you to decide whether you wanted to go forward or convert to a straight up, you know, 2 acre subdivision, that's fine. We can continue to a date certain. I don't know what the consensus of the board is. There haven't been any motions, so if we vote, we vote. And so it's up to you at this point whether you want us to go forward. We're certainly content to give you some space to think about it further and come back, and you can either pull the application and switch to a subdivision, or you could say, well, let's reconvene, and the next hearing probably wouldn't be that long. We wouldn't have a lot to rehash. We wouldn't have to do it all again, but we talk about it and then proceed to a vote.
Kevin, can I add something?
Sure.
I'd like to add a little bit of direction for the applicant. If we were to proceed with the PUD vote, I think what I've heard, and I think the board is heading towards, is that it would be conditioned in some manner, either to preserve the open space or limit the amount of lots. And I'd like to hear from the applicant, is that a condition that they'd be willing to accept, or do they want to come back, like you were alluding to, with a conforming lot application?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think they said they're not sure about that. Jason?
Josh,
I know how I would advise my clients in a case.
Okay, then let's quit.
Let's hear it.
So, they're on the line. We would like to continue this hearing to a date.
Okay.
To a
All
later
right.
date. That
That's
way
fine.
we can take more time. You know, these things do take a long process.
No, right, no, it's perfectly fine. No problem with that at all, and it makes sense rather than doing things on the fly.
CAD line work is pretty easy. We can
Yeah.
quickly change things and recalc acreage.
All right, so,
do that.
so, hold on, and Chris is gonna give us the date here.
You guys are second, fourth. The 27th of July would be the soonest.
July 27th. that'll be the date we reconvene on this.
Okay,
And in the interim, if you decide, Jason and Spalding, that you want to shift gears, what, hold on,
Because I don't need to warn this, the continuation. right?
yeah. I'm gone the 6th through the 20th.
So the
July.
13th, there's the.
Of July, I'm gone.
I know, you may have to find somebody to sit in this chair. The reason I say that is you've got another request on the 13th that's in front of the board for a non-hearing.
That's fine, but
What, I would prefer to put it out to the 27th, just so we have a full board. Is that acceptable for the applicant?
does that work for you guys?
it does.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, we're gonna continue the hearing until July 27. Jason and Spalding, if you change your mind on the PUD aspect of this, just let Chris know, and that hearing will be canceled, and then you can, if you're gonna apply for a subdivision, you have to, it has to be warned as a subdivision and with
Correct.
notice and everything, so, we can't just convert that 27th hearing into a subdivision hearing.
Okay, so we'd have to apply. If we decide to do that, we just have to update the drawings and submit a new application to get
So Chris can
on.
give, because Chris has to give notice, that is a
Okay.
subdivision.
Subdivision PUD already.
Well,
Now it's warranted.
well, I mean, as a straight, as it's converting, it's no longer PUD, it's something different. You know, we can't take the continued hearing and make it a hearing for a different purpose.
Correct.
And so just let Chris know, and then he would cancel that 27th hearing and warn, once you get your application, send out the warning for the new thing, whatever it is, straight up subdivision.
I mean, we'd
Okay.
like to still hold that July 27th hearing. So we're gonna
Right,
have some
100%.
discussions.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
you make a decision, let him know until cancel.
We'll change gears.
Yeah, all right. All right, so that concludes the permit. The only thing left, the permit inquiries for tonight, we have the minutes from May 25th. Is everybody have a chance to look at those?
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
I'll defer.
Hey, hang on.
See what we can do.
We can do, some people didn't get them in their packet, so it's also 9:30. Want to just pick up the minutes at the 27th?
Yes.
Are we meeting before the 27th?
Yes.
Like we're meeting the 13th.
There's an application that they want to just come in and get input. It's for the housing project next to the fire station. They're on a tight timeline. They want to come in and have their sketch. They're on.
The sketch plan review?
Yeah. On the 13th.
Why do they need it? They already got subdivision. Why do they need a sketch plan?
Because that entire project has changed.
Ah.
Because the PUD they have is for 15 units, and now it's a potentially just a conditional use for a 20-unit multifamily housing.
All right, well, okay. Well, then we can take up the minutes on the 13th or the 27th. If folks haven't had a chance to read them and people have had enough fun for one night. Sound good to you guys? John
Sounds
and
good.
Josh, okay. All right, then, motion to adjourn?
No.
Oh.
For Chris,
Yes.
again, about
Yeah.
what's going on.
So I have spoken with the landowners, and after the 4th, we are trying to find a date that works for both of us. I'm meeting them on site with the maps they provided, and we're coming down to whether it was a inaccurate map submission or an inaccurate rule. And from there, we have, if it was an inaccurate map, we then can pursue it as violation. If it's an inaccurate ruling, unfortunately, the bad is on me. And that's the unfortunate realities. So
I don't understand what an inaccurate ruling is.
I believe that it was not in the floodplain when I ruled. And if I was wrong, the only action really would be, I don't know what the legal action is after that.
I don't know in this state, but I know in other states, even if you're wrong, it doesn't matter, it doesn't help it.
Right, well, no, the applicant would then be, what,
You're sort of immune to being wrong.
right, so when it comes down to it, they would have a pre-existing non-conformance, is what they would be, is what ends up, is my understanding of the rule. I don't know it deep enough, if that's what the ruling is, going to the town's attorney for an official ruling at that point. If they provided inaccurate information, then we can pursue it from that fact that it was.
Yeah, if they have a permit, it's the final permit, it's the final permit, even if you screwed up. I don't know if that's true for the national flood protection
Right.
stuff.
Right, so that's where it all came. So-
You're not gonna bind the federal government, I'm sure of that.
Oh, God, no, so that's where we're at. It has not that. I mean, like I said,
Okay.
Deborah and I, Deborah, I don't remember her name, Mashak's her last name, are meeting after the holiday on site. I actually can go on the site. So
This is in an area which actually does flood.
that's potentially, that's the question. And
I mean, just because it's on a map, but people build things where they will flood, and it's quite obvious that they will, and you can see the marks where,
yeah, and it's where the official floodplain is what we have to rule. And that's based on the FEMA maps for our zoning. So, yep.
Where is that place? I've heard you guys talk about it before, but I don't know where it is.
Right across the river from Randy Sargent's welding shop in Drake Woods. I mean, not Drake Woods, my God. What is that road? Heading out of town here. I just had
Car,
116, you get to the first bridge.
yeah.
You can't see it from the road, but it's there. in the
it's
woods.
back behind that apartment house there.
It's across the river. It's on the other side of the river.
Wow.
From Randy Sargent's welding shop there, which is just before the second bridge, first bridge.
Yeah, in between. Yeah, right. Huh.
between the two bridges.
Across the
Yeah,
river.
it's after the first bridge.
It's not-
before the-
It's not on federal property, huh?
Nope, it's private. It's privately owned. So it hasn't been fun. It's been a mess.
So can I ask a quick question? I happen to hear in front of
Do
the
you want your
shore
flag down here?
developer review board. And
Don't worry, you think to get it. This is what I would say.
Yeah.
Really?
My
With
stuff is always
the
right here.
the applicant present and during the hearing, they use a procedure where they not only do they not deliberate in public, but they do private deliberations.
We've done both.
We've done both. I just
Yeah,
wonder, because
yeah.
obviously that's left over from the zoning board. I happen to like a lot of transparency.
Yeah.
But they go all the way the opposite.
Yeah.
All the
and either one
deliberations
is-
are private.
Either one is fine.
Yeah.
There been applications in the past, so I'll just, speak for myself, that it's probably me who moved to executive session because I felt it would be a better discussion. Sometimes, frankly,
Yeah.
there was a lot of education to impart to the board, which because people were really unsure of things. That's not always a great public view.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you get people can be more candid, get a fair view of it, speak their heart, speak their mind more in executive session, particularly in a hot topic, like we had the Lathrop gravel pit and stuff. If we were debating that in public with, there would be reactions from the crowd and stuff. It's harder to control, but mostly it's and when I've made motions past because I thought that people would be more willing or feel more freedom to actually talk about things. And sometimes it can be personal. I think that guy's a liar. I've never trusted that guy. I don't trust him now.
Okay,
And it's
no,
hard to-
I agree with the process. I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify.
yeah. So it's
Because
case by case.
But there are other communities where they literally
Do it all the time.
never deliberate in public.
You're right, but then you've got to come out and vote. You got to vote in open session. So,
And you've got to know who voted which way.
well, yeah, that's right. So, and then people are gone for one thing. Sometimes executive sessions can, I know some boards schedule the executive session out in the future because it's been a long night.
Yep.
And it's all okay.
Yeah,
But you've got to actually vote in open session. And so if it's not that night that you have the hearing, you've got to warn a new hearing.
So Moncton used to do just that. They would have a hearing, they'd close that hearing, the following, 2 weeks later, they'd have a working session, which is the board by themselves, discuss the application and have it, and then rewarn a new hearing. So a month later, so
I'm familiar with that vote in public, it's a month later.
well, what happens, I mean, they have a single subdivision.
Right, yeah, you gotta warn it, basically you don't get the vote that night.
Yeah, and but what was happening is because of the newspaper requirements and the fact that the items only published once a week, like a single lot subdivision out there took 4.5 months with that. With no, and it was not controversial at all.
Well, the reason I wanted to ask it, and you answered exactly the way I hoped you did, I like the transparency. I also agree that there are times when we need to talk without hurting a lot of feelings or whatever it is, and we need to be able to do that. And, you know, I don't think we've had anything like that, right? Maybe a little bit with Robert Fuller. But,
I can only remember a couple of things, kind of on one hand.
You know, but I think it's good. I think it's good.
Yeah.
And I hope you would, if anybody, I was just gonna say, if any of us would make a motion, I would consider whether or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I started in 2006. It's less than, it is on one hand that I can count the times we did that. But they were.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like this way. of doing it.
All the gravel pits.
Yeah, but there were a couple others we went in executive session too.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember part of it because there was real confusion and uncertainty on the board, and we needed to sort of have like a primer.
Well, you gave us a good primer a little while ago, because the tone that we're creating with people is a very conversational, we're trying to work with you kind of thing. But in reality, at some point, it's their application, and we get to decide, and it isn't, you were right when you said, I think a few of us wanted to know how they felt about a condition, but they don't actually get to set it. But we set one, you know, but it's.
That's right.
I think I like.
We don't need your approval.
Yeah.
And then they'll either live with that or they won't.
They can say it.
Correct.
Well, in reality, if they get that condition, then they might turn around and then they decide to the subdivision.
They might, but, you know, so that's their, you know,
They decide to go that way.
it's better for them to take the time and and decide what they want.
This board has always been very collaborative with the applicants.
Right.
And I try to be on the front end as well.
Yep. No, yeah, it's important, but there's a
Fine line.
there's a way it could be misconstrued, or the question could be delivered like, would this be okay with you if we did this? I mean, so there's savvy people would say, no, I wouldn't like that. And well, okay, that doesn't mean it doesn't
That's why
happen.
it was particularly helpful for you to tell them.
Yeah.
that what, as you did, I thought that was helpful and appropriate, to tell them that even though we're asking you, we don't actually need your permission.
Right.
So
It
did,
work that way.
so did Robert Fuller, give up on?
Yes.
He did not appeal.
He talked to me, he called me the next day and said he was done, and if the individual landowners wanted to go down that route, that was on them.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, we did say that they wish to build it within the envelope as part of the house.
Yeah.
And so they can, and lots of people don't have garages.
And I think the next one that's being built right now, I think that's what the one that we started, it's actually gonna be an integrated garage.
Okay.
That's not a bad reason.
Are we good?
Yep. We good to say good night, folks? Yes? All right, meeting adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.